let's objectively stop, sit back, and have a look at what is going on here. You've sat down, you've got onto YouTube. You've seen I've got a video up. You've clicked on this video. Now, this video is one of those general videos where I'm going on about the most overrated album or the musician that should never have picked up an instrument. All those titles I just said then, they're 50,000, 100,000, 150,000 viewers. I could do all those all day long. I could. It'd be very easy for me to do that. But you've clicked on this one. So you're a smaller section of the viewers that watch this channel. Now, I want to entertain you. And that's what I wake up in the morning thinking, how can I entertain you so you want to come back? And then I have insecurities. Will you get fed up with me one day? Will what I'm doing just get boring? I watch other YouTubers and I'm a fan of them for a while, and then I think, well, they just keep saying the same thing over and over again. They're doing the same thing. There's Andy, he's doing his top tens, and now he's just doing the same thing, and yet his only difference is he's holding the albums instead of having like a little graphic up there, which is actually less work for him. He seems to be going through the motions. And comments like that have been appearing on the channel, little comments here and there. And I go away and they worry me. They seem like demons to me. I know they're not, they're just people. But in my subjective world here, I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm having to do it to make a living. I'm also doing it because I love it. Those two things are put together. I'm very lucky to have that at the moment. How long will that go on for? Will I have to return back to normal life at some point? You lot are probably in normal life right now. You'd probably all love to be able to just go and sit and chat into a camera for an hour or so and stick it up and receive money for that. And I'm very grateful for that. But to get that, I need to deliver something, don't I? I'm aware of this. I need to deliver something. And I could either conform to what all the other YouTubers do, or I could go, no, you aren't that. Well, what are you? I don't know what I am, but let's just keep pursuing it. Maybe if I could continually keep pursuing whatever it was when I first set this channel up, and if I could keep doing that, which is the exploration of something compelling, being able to talk about something compelling related to art and creativity, and then more related to all the music that's sat behind me that represents a certain demographic, which probably, if you think about it logically, you sit there watching this now. So what is that demographic? Who are you? Well, I could tell some of it by looking at the stuff on YouTube that they send me. You're all about my age, maybe even older. There's people in their 70s watching this channel. They all like music. There we are, a product of this era of rock and roll, you could say, you know. But the people who come here usually like Led Zeppelin or Pink Floyd, those big massive bands. There's a contingent that like all of those. But there's another contingent which likes progressive rock. And there's quite a few channels out there that are doing stuff for them, you know, and catering for them. I think I started off as one of those YouTubers. But then the thing is with me is I like progressive rock. I worked in progressive rock. I like classic rock. I like metal. But I really like jazz, and I like jazz rock fusion, and I like experimental music. And I like not being confined to a category like that. So I've collected at the heart of this channel a whole bunch of older people, older men that like that stuff. So what are those types of people? Well, I imagine, and I don't want to try and, you know, kiss all your bottoms, but I will be here. You are of a man of a certain age, but of a certain intellectual capability and intellectual capacity and interest in creativity. Maybe there's still life in the old dog. Yet you don't want to conform. You don't want to sit back. You still want to be excited. You want to have your brain like blown. You want to have your mind blown, like this music that we love did. And also a big aspect of this channel is the sort of standard idea of rock and roll, that sort of post-punk 80s critic, you know, NME, melody maker view of rock and roll, that the greats were like people like Lou Reed and Velvet Underground and all the punk bands, and all that idea that we all have to own a copy of Joy Division to prove that we've got taste, that I've blown that up all the way through. So you may be a little bit like that. So I have an idea who I'm talking to. All right. And you're here watching this, and you're probably willing to go on this journey. Now, this journey today is going to be a journey. I woke up this morning with this video fully formed in my head. This happens every now and then. I woke up and I started to have a series of ideas, and they were not linked. They don't fit in with the YouTube algorithm. This is going to be a meander and a wander through where I am at right now and where I think you lot are right now, and why, when the demons come along and start to put the stuff in the comments, you know, when I go home and worry about it, it starts to get in my head. And then I think, you shouldn't be a YouTuber, Andy. You've got to have a thick skin to do this. You shouldn't be reading the comments. And I think, yes, but I do. And I can't help it. The ideas come from the comments. The positive stuff's great, but the negative stuff, in a way, challenges me. And it has been challenging me. And I've made a series of adjustments over the last few weeks, which I felt were necessary. I need to go back to talking about the music I love, trying to get away with talking about music that I'm not that concerned about, which meant bringing all my records together, having them near me, filling it up with a whole bunch of other artifacts that mean something to me, and then sitting in front of that and letting this thing that's behind me inform what I'm doing. Well, I've been doing that for a couple of weeks now. And the demons shift, don't they? The demon comments shift and they start to say other stuff. You know, I did a ranking video where I basically pulled all the albums that I'd got, and then I basically ranked them in front of everybody. I thought, well, nobody does this. That's interesting. People can see the thought process and not get bored with just going, oh, here's 10, 9. Oh, that'll be interesting. The views are okay. The views have been going back up again since I've done this. So people seem to like it. But then somebody just wrote dog's dinner or dog's breakfast. And I thought, well, it is a mess. Yeah, what I do is a mess. It is true. And then I go away and that worries me. Now, one of the big events that has really been playing on my mind was my first attempt at live streaming, which happened on the Black Sabbath day. So I've been considering whether I should live stream for about 2 years. And I didn't know what it is. And when you don't know what something is, you're a little bit frightened of it. But when I woke up on that Saturday morning, I thought, I've got to do something for Black Sabbath. I've got to do something for it. This is really important to me, this is. I'm going to live stream. So suddenly, without much thought, I'm sat in a live stream. And to start off with, it is very successful. It's very successful. I make contact with my subscribers and they're lovely. And we're having a big party. And then on the second one I do, I forget to tick the box where it says only subscribers can comment. And suddenly all the demons appear. And the demons are putting all these comments in and it's all going into my head. Luckily, I protected myself because Robbie Dave was actually doing that one. And he isn't bothered about things like that. So he just laughed at them and carried on. So then I get into the final one, and this is the big one. And I've done so much on this, and you probably keep wondering why I keep coming back to this. And the reason is because I got a copyright strike. Then the comments start coming in. And some people are saying it's terrible. You shouldn't be have been had a strike. You weren't doing anything. And they're all the really nice people. But there's other people going, you know what you did? You broadcast the video. You were making money out of it. And these are the demons. These are in there. I think, what are you doing this for? Haven't you got anything better to do? I have a right to push back. If you're going to put stuff on the internet, then I have a right to push back against you and say what I think. You know, you can't stop me from doing that. Now I've got people going, can't you just be nice? And I'm thinking, all I want to do is be nice. And yet, even though I try my best to be nice, I'm also a creative type and I'm a contrarian. And so I say stuff and I'm compelled to say stuff. I'm compelled to say stuff today and I'm going to. So let's actually look at that Black Sabbath day. I've spoken so much about it, so has everybody else. Everyone else has really been out there talking about it. There's been so much stuff on the internet. It just came along and eclipsed the Oasis gig. No one talked about that. Who gives a toss? Because that's all the normies. All the normies are interested in Oasis. The real people, the real deal, was watching that Black Sabbath gig. We'd had the whole Bob Vylan Glastonbury thing before. And that just washed that away. That wasn't important. That was just like, you know, media hype. This is where the reality was, all right? Why? Because people of a certain age, us lot, right? more than any other band, the idea of them just embodying the things I've tried to champion here, not what the critics think's good, but what the people think's good, right? A bunch of working class blokes from Birmingham, they form a band in the 60s, and they not only become massively successful and write a whole bunch of songs which will live to us till we all drop dead, right? But they do it outside the mainstream. The critics don't really care anything about them at all, and yet they don't just make great albums. They invent the genre that represents those type of outsider types. And all of us that went towards metal, new wave of British heavy metal, all of those were champion Iron Maiden. We knew we weren't cool. We were into the music. And there was a lack of judgment there. And that is something that is bigger, for me, even than my like of jazz fusion and my like of prog. But what's interesting is that when I started to meet these people that were making this metal, and I found out where's the genesis, esoteric heart of what you're doing musically, I suddenly realised they like prog and they like jazz rock fusion, and that's been butting up against it. And a lot of kids who discovered metal find their way over to jazz fusion and jazz. So there's been this thing going on. And so this is important to me. I'm sat in this and I'm chatting to all these people. And when I click the subscribers to the channel, I'm in this lovely communal place. So we're just having a laugh. I'm cracking jokes, they're cracking jokes. I'm laughing at their jokes. Everyone can see it's genuine. Everyone's really enjoying it. And then big business comes and just slaps it down, right? And then all the demons come out. Well, you broke copyright, you broke. And I think, I'm sat there thinking, they don't understand what I'm trying to get across. What I'm saying here is the copyright strike is not based upon fair use. It's not based upon whether I was right or wrong. I could have been right, I could have been wrong. But that's separate to my point, is that big business can just come along and take a YouTuber and just go, they're copying us, they have breached copyright, and YouTube will just shut them down. What I was saying is there's no actual criteria to be shut down, except for the person watching it going, oh, this bloke's live streaming. Yeah, but there's no sound and the screen's so small. I mean, what do you think people are going to do? Like, get this bloke's thing and then they're going to expand that little screen up so it's a big pixelated mass and then there's no sound on it. How is this replacing what we're doing? Plus, he's talking all over it and he's studied the way of it, right? That would be the argument. Now, I might be wrong there. That is not the point. The point is here is that the way copyright is working now is it's just being shut down by big business. And I don't mind being shut down. I don't mind the video being blocked. I don't mind them taking the money away that I made on that date. What I don't like is this threat that if you have 3 of these strikes, that your YouTube channel is taken away from you. That as a punishment is too much. And that points to a certain mindset that is in our culture right now. We don't like what they're doing. We don't agree with it. We don't have to go through a proper due process. We will just shut them down now. Let's get rid of them. But what if their livelihoods are in? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. They did something. They crossed this moral line and we don't like it. You know you were doing something wrong and you've paid the price. What if the price was me being killed? Would you say that then? Right? Well, no, being killed, that's a bit too much. So taking away my livelihood. And then this one bloke appears and starts to tell me that I don't have a livelihood, that I'm not making any money out of this, that it doesn't matter. And he starts to spew out these quotes about how YouTube works, and he starts to go to my social blade and use that as a thing. And I'm sat there thinking, in this case, I know the bloke is entirely wrong. He doesn't know anything, and yet he feels that he can carry on this argument towards me, right? He can carry on saying, no, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. You know, he'll start to telling me how tall I am. He's going to start to tell me, where I was born and who my friends were at school, because he knows all that better than me. And then you realise how people are just seeing you as a thing on YouTube. They don't see you as a person, and there's no reason why they should. But what's all this got to do with Black Sabbath, and why am I mentioning that? Well, I tell you why, because once I'd been struck and I was now back on my own, and I was sitting there in the middle of the night, and Ozzy finally comes on. It's a big moment. I thought, I wish I could share this with other people, but you're on your own, so you've got to react. So I sit there ready to react. Now, I think for many of us, Ozzy coming out was a more emotional hit than when Sabbath came out. We knew the rest of the guys were going to walk out. Maybe Bill Ward, it was great to see Bill Ward. But when Ozzy first came out, it's like, is he going to be able to sing? And I can remember the first song, I'm sat there thinking, is he really singing or is this a backing track? I think he's really singing. He's really doing it. Look at the look on his face, right? Now, what struck me, right, was the first song we sang wasn't a Sabbath song. It was a Blizzard of Oz song. Now, the Blizzard of Oz album is one of those albums that is from that classic 1980 era where I suddenly discovered music, and I discovered albums and bands that were going to change my life. It was going to dictate what I did for a job, where I went, all the experiences I had, who I met, which meant who I got married to, my kids being born. Everything is based around 1980, the series of albums that came out and a shift that happened in music, right? And I'm going to be doing a companion piece to this video where I discuss that shift from the point of view of a variety of guitar players, which had a different view of the world. Randy Rhoads was one of them. But then Randy Rhoads died. It was a big deal. It was all over the newspapers. I was 14 years old in 1982 when it happened. You know, my mom was talking about it. Randy Rhoads had died. We didn't realise that a little genius had died. Ozzy couldn't deal with it. He's suddenly found this new voice. He's found his own voice. He's writing his own songs. He's writing his own lyrics. And this is a powerful thing, and it's a powerful thing for me. It could well be a powerful thing for you because you're sat here watching it. That album's powerful. I love Weather Report, I love Miles Davis, but that album's powerful. I had it at the time. I no longer own it. I feel I should have a copy. I haven't got a copy, but I know it because it was one of the albums at the time. It wasn't just me that had a copy. Everyone had a copy. That's why I know the album. I could go around to my mates and put Blizzard of Oz on. I may have never owned it. I bought Tribute, I think, when that came out. Don't think I ever owned an Ozzy Osbourne album. So Ozzy starts up with the Blizzard of Oz song. I didn't realise how powerful that was. And he didn't open up with Crazy Train or Mr. Crowley. He opened up with the first song on the Blizzard of Oz album. He's making a statement here. He goes, this is where my solo career started. This is where I started. This is when I was back with Randy Rhoads and I was making this album. And then I sort of found my voice. And he opens up with the first track on the album. And he says, sat there in his throne, and we're all quaking. What's he going to do? Is he going to be able to sing? And he opens his mouth, Ozzy, with that look in his eyes, like a mixture of bewilderment, a mixture of stoic, steadfast, I'm going to be able to do this, a mixture of love to the audience in front of him that has given him this very precious life, a look of defiance that, you know, the mainstream that never supported him, but he's been able to get his way through all this stuff. His eyes looking out like that with the black makeup around it, accentuating it, almost like a silent movie star. And he's looking out, sat on his big bat throne, and he opens his mouth and he says, people look to me and say, is this the end? Is this the final day? Right? People look to me and say, is this the end? Is this the final day? Brilliant. And then, what's the future of mankind? I don't know, 'cause I got left behind. And then this big statement of, I don't know. After all this, the first thing we hear is this bloke who is pretty much at the end of it all, right? Imparting in this great big world attention. I can't explain this. This band shouldn't be here. The bloody established have never backed them up. This is grudging. This is grudging. And here he is, and the world's full of love, and he opens his mouth. And he basically says, I don't know. Right? And I think that has ramifications for everybody. I think that is such an incredible statement. It's such an incredible story. It's so iconic. And it's not iconic for young people. It's iconic for us. It's iconic for my generation. Right? It expressed something that I feel. And I wanted to come on here this morning and express the sentiments here. You know, people look to me and say, is this the end? Are these the final days? I mean, how apt is that for where we're at the moment? And who knows that could be the case? Not the kids, because they don't do any different. It's us that saw a different way of doing things, a certain freedom, a certain creative excitement, a certain idea that you could push against the boundaries, that you could push against the establishment, that was okay. And here we are looking at the world the way it is. Right? What's the future of mankind? I don't know. I got left behind. If that doesn't sum up how I feel, what's the future of mankind? I don't know. I don't know. Because I've been left behind. I've been left behind. And now we move on to the next middle section of this video. How have I got left behind? Well, life's strange, isn't it? It's a mixture of absolute chaos, the things you don't understand, and then a mixture of sometimes having some sort of motivation and all that type of thing. And blokes with big chins who come on and talk about positive thinking and they all rile you up. That's a shallow feeling. I've always known it's there and I've always known it's powerful. In the music industry, that's a big thing. Positive thinking. You know, if you could think it, you could achieve it, right? And for me, I know that's a powerful thing, but I also know it's a load of shit. Absolutely, because life's not like that. Life's not like that. All the people that are suffering in the world, and if you're aware of them and you know and you have any empathy for them, you know that no amount of positive thinking is going to sort that situation out. Right? They have a right to not be feeling positive. We all have a right for not feeling positive. That's how life goes. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect journey. You walk your way through it slowly. It never gets towards some utopia. You never reach there. You just keep going. There's an aspect where you just keep going until you drop down dead. And even if you're Ozzy Osbourne and you've been in one of the biggest bands in the world, it's been ups and downs, and you find yourself sat on a bat-thrown chair in front of all these people who love you, and you don't even mean it, right? You're too close to it to even know it. But the first thing you say to them is, look, I don't know. What's the future of mankind? I don't know. Why? Because I've been left behind. That's an expression of nothing bad. That's what happens when you get to my age. That's what happens when you get to your age. We are now being left behind. Another generation's coming in. Our values are falling apart in our hands. Okay? But the funny thing is, we live at a time when we've got access to YouTube. And for the first time ever, another old bloke, me, who can't believe I'm old. I can't believe I'm old. All right? That was the original idea. I thought, here I am, and I'm old. I'm old. I'm arrived here, and I'm old. How can I have become old? I wasn't old. I had long hair, and I was in bands, and I was traveling around, and we were having a laugh, you know, and all this type of stuff, getting drunk and touring and playing music, and that has been my life all along. My mates got proper jobs. They seemed to make a lot of money. They had their big sort of offices they sat in, you know, and they seemed to do well. But as I grew older, you know, I got to 40 or 45, 50, I noticed that they'd become very cardigan-y. And there's me, still got the long hair, out there playing in bands. And I was never a cool guy. When I was at school, I was never one of the cool guys, so I never had that. But now I'm in bands, right? And it keeps going and it keeps going, and it's up and down. And the thing is, it's being in bands and having this lifestyle. I'm very aware that my life's quite chaotic. My friends who I went to school with, they're in their 40s and they've got gardens, and they come home and they think about where they're going to go on holiday. And they look forward to a Sunday when they can just get up and, you know, buy a newspaper and make themselves a nice cup of coffee and put on their album, you know, a bit of Dave Gilmour. That will calm it all down for them. And one day I wake up and I'm that too. I'm that too. I'm working in the college. I've got kids in front of me. They keep you young. All these young kids. Now, one of the things I'm going to say, I don't know how many of my ex-students are watching this video, but I want you to chime in. I really want anybody who was a student of me, whether it's a private student, you know, anyone who knows me, I want you to chime in on this one, because you're all getting older as well. And I'm reaching out because most of my life was sat doing exactly what I'm doing now, but it would be in a classroom and I would be looking out into a room of kids and we'd be chatting about this, right? But back then I was a little bit more relevant, but there was a time when I thought, I'm not relevant anymore, right? I can't teach about record deals, how to get A&R to look at your demos, you know, how you get a song in so you can get a deal and get out there, you know, how to hustle gigs, how to get an audience. That was all irrelevant. And so at some point, about 5, 6, 7 years ago, I thought, pick something on the internet and study it. Study TikTok. I don't want to do that. Study Snapchat. Don't want to do that. Instagram, could do that on YouTube. Well, I did watch YouTube, so that won't be as a pain. So I started to watch YouTube. I started to do this so I could be relevant, so I could sort of hold on to this thing to not be left behind. So I'm sat there down in the class. I can go in and say that to the kids, and they go, oh, that's interesting what Andy says about YouTube. I never thought about that. Oh, we could try and do that. And I started to unearth some truths about it. I started to unearth, some positive things about it and negative things about it. But the point is, as that was going on, the very nature of music education and this sort of 1960s hippified idea that, we take taxpayers' money, we give it to the kids, and they can then just go and have this period of just being massively creative and finding themselves. And that's what education's all about. Then when they leave that, they've got a strength of feeling in their body, and it'll be able to make them surge forward into the world and be, great people. And they might not end up as rock stars, but that creative mindset will probably stop them by then bloody killing themselves, right? And that's why I want the students to chime in. I want you to chime in. I want to get to some truth. But what do I really want to get to? Probably just have a bit of positivity. Probably people to say, you were right, Andy. You were doing the right thing. You know why? Because I don't know whether I was. I don't know whether this is all a waste of time because the demons are there. Why are you even listening to the demons? Why are you listening to the demons, Andy? Why? Okay, so education starts to change. I'm an old man. I've got people that are my bosses that are younger than me. They don't seem as experienced as me. They don't seem to know what I know. They challenge me on certain things. They are talking from an establishment point of view. It's cliched, it's boring. I didn't even want to know it. It might be right, but I don't care. And I'm going to stand up to the man. So I stand up to the man or the woman. And it doesn't go well. And I find out that establishments don't go, Andy's saying all this stuff. Shall we have a listen to him, see what he says? Well, some of it might be right, some of it might be wrong. Let's go through it and all have a chat together and arrive at a place where, we get the best out of all these people we got. No, you then become a target, right? The target that was put on me in education that eventually took me out because I didn't understand how the target works and how they take you out. Now I've come out of it, I'm very sensitive to it, you see. I'm wired in a certain way. And I thought, well, become a private drum teacher, do some music production, get some gigs down. And I did all this thing once I'd lost my job. I joined tribute bands, covers bands. I was trying to do everything. I thought if I get a bit of money from here and a bit of money from there and a bit of money from there, then maybe I won't lose my house and my family and we won't be damned into this awful world, which at the moment is going down the pan. And when I say it like that, I literally would have night after night of existential terror, which culminated in a month of, I think it was 2023, April 2023. I think it was that year, could be 2022. It's all a blur to me. I had a month where if you are an anxious person, what you're frightened of is the void. And the void could open up like cracks in the ground and suck you into the black void of terror. Well, in April 2023, it opened up and sucked me into the black world of terror. I still carried on doing YouTube videos. They're still there. Then something weird happened. Narada Michael Walden, one of my heroes, one of my musical heroes, and also somebody I really looked up to, but also somebody I knew was very spiritual and very positive, that emanated a sort of lovely beauty, energy, power. He got in touch and he phoned me up and I thought, this person doesn't exist in my world. My world doesn't have Narada Michael Walden. He's a name on the back of an album. He's an inspiration. He doesn't come along and talk to you, but he did. That changed me. It really, really changed me. And it inspired me. And I realized that you can walk towards the light. That it's not all chaos and disorder. That I don't know whether there's a God or not a God. I don't know whether there's spirituality or not spirituality. It doesn't even matter. What matters is I get up in the morning and I do this. And I started to do that. And I started to do that thinking, I'm probably destined for absolute annihilation here. But do this because at least there's a tiny little bit of money. Because by this time, bizarrely, in that month, this channel monetized. So there's a tiny bit of money coming in, tiny bit of money coming from teaching gigs. All this stuff's happening around me. But I'm listening to Nada. He rings me up again. You know, don't worry, Andy, God favours you. Nada Michael Walden saying that God favours me. Gee, God, I was going to say, God, Jesus. Yeah. He was right. You know, by the end of the summer, I was fully monetised. So when some bloke comes on saying that that's not the case, he's denying something that could almost be like a figment of my imagination. It pushes me into an existential crisis, and I don't know what's true and I don't know what's not true. I end up like Ozzy Osbourne on that stage. Now, in the journey of this YouTube and the journey of what I've tried to do here, that Saturday was important. Really important for a whole bunch of reasons. One, I live streamed for the first time. Two, I had direct contact with the people who love the channel. Three, I was able to celebrate basically the birth of all this different music that I love that may not be connected in reality, but is connected in the story of my life. Four, I had a copyright strike and it made me realise what I'm dealing with YouTube. You know, how precarious this is. And although this is the future in terms of creativity, and this is where creative artists need to work, again, this is like the early 60s where you could make a lot of money or not because no one's got any control over it whatsoever. All that stuff's in my mind. And also dealing with this idea of the demons, that every night, once I've had my day doing stuff, and I can be really energized, I can sit in bed and get the laptop out and start going through the comments and go, oh, we love you, Andy, thank you, heart. Oh, I really love you. You do what you want to do, heart, 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 heart. But I'm a creative musician. And so every time those demons come in, they say that negative comment. Now, I'm sure people are going to go say, I made that comment. I'm not a demon. I was just pointing out something. I'm sure you are. The trouble is, it's this thing that is the fundamental it's the fundamental thing behind all three channels. I've got three channels. I've got this one, the big one, the music one. Music's the most important thing in my life. It's structured everything. Music's the thing for me. I'm never letting go of that. I'm going to be doing music and I'm going to be doing it on here. And in 5 or 6 years' time, if it's all gone away and there's still, you know, there's nobody watching it, I will still be here delivering this stuff, right? I will find a way. I also have a politics channel because people moaned about the politics. Now, maybe I shouldn't have just ignored them and just carried on. I probably should have just gone, but I didn't. I thought I'll try and do what people want so they don't have to have a big gob of politics. You know, now, two things have come out of that. I now have a politics channel. You get involved in this and the same thing, you arrive at the same thing. Ozzy, I don't know. What's the future of mankind? I don't know. I got left behind. That is what the politics channel is as well. That's the politics channel. Now, my third channel, which is called The Magic Box, is about art and film and aesthetics and madness. And that is, I have actually kept that a secret, I suppose. It's there in the links, but, you know, it's not watched by that many people. That, to me, is the esoteric heart of what I do. The other morning I woke up and I made a little film of me getting up in the morning. It can't go on here. It can't go on the politics channel. It went on the Magic Box channel. I think after playing music, which is all about visceral emotions, all about feelings, I want to tell some stories. I think that is what is going on here. I want to tell some stories. I don't want to just play music and take people off, you know, I love that. I love putting Coltrane on and not having a story. Well, there's a big story, but it's just an existentialist, you know, I exist in the universe. I'm looking upwards towards this. That's a story. It's all a story. It's all a story. I'm telling you a story. It's a strange type of story. So we now get past the middle bits. And I now get to the hardest bit of the YouTube video, which is the final third, the beginning, middle, now we're at the end. And I need to get to a sort of conclusion, which I didn't have. Everything is set in stone. I've just laid out my ideas to you. There's a whole bunch of things that play. This is something you can't do on YouTube. I've got the Black Sabbath gig. I've got the copyright strike. I've got you, the audience. I've got me in existential angst. I don't know what's going on. What is this all about? What is this all about? I'm going to tell you now, and I'm not too sure here what this conclusion is, right? Shall we try and walk forward into it, right? Without my brain racing at a million miles an hour sat of bed, in the structure of a YouTube video, which has to be laid out in a certain way. I've learnt that skill now and I can control it. I'm looking at the clock as we talk. That's why I don't look into the camera like that. Everyone says, why don't you look into the camera? I'm looking at the clock ticking. I can't do it without that clock. I need to look at it, and I sort of talk and structure, and sometimes I tread water, and sometimes I go, right, you've got to go for it. You've got to go for it right now. And I'm quite neat in that. We're actually 5 minutes away from me going for it. And I don't know whether I can tread water on this anymore. I think you're ready for some sort of a conclusion. Right? Here it is. Here's the conclusion. Right? We have a community here. I'm very aware of that. I have spent my life being creative. That's why I'm here. I'm not here because I'm a fan. I'm not here because I have an encyclopedic knowledge of music, although I do have a reasonable knowledge of music and music history because I taught it for a long time. And not only do I know the facts, I think I've thought a lot about the cultural movements and machinations that underlie this thing that we call rock music, pop music, prog, jazz, fusion, and all of that, right? And I want to get into that. I'm not just here to talk about the new Dream Theater album. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm a creative musician. I want to impart knowledge to other creative types. I want to impart knowledge to creative types that are my age. I want to be able to say to them, you can still be creative. You have to be creative. I want to do all that. I want to celebrate the music. I want to try and make the music last. I want to safeguard the idea of creativity. I want to make sure jazz is still around and doesn't just end up as the sort of opera of an elite middle class who can afford to send their kids to jazz college to play all the right notes in the right order. I want it to have some danger to it. I want to try and retain that. I want to retain the idea that anybody could play it. I want to democratize creativity because I've spent my whole life doing that with these kids coming in at 16 from working class backgrounds who haven't got a clue how to access the industry, who never find out. You know, I wanted to try and give them some sort of tools where they could go away and they might not get a job in it, but at least they could be creative, fulfilled, so they don't end up killing themselves. Because that is the descent. A creative person, if they are not supplied with what they need, there's a descent down into the cracks of hell. And this YouTube channel came out of me, that stood at the gates of that hell. I was there. I've been there 3 times in my life, right? I know it so well. The 3rd time I was facing it, I was old enough to know it and say, I know what you are. You're the void. I'm looking you right in the face now. You're the void. I know who you are. I know who you are. I can't do much about it. I can't get out of this. I need someone who's got out of it, that has escaped it, that's not been pulled into the void. I need someone to come along and give me the energy. It's not even facts, it's the energy. Nora Michael Walden rings me up. He's there saying, I didn't even understand it at the time. He goes, I love all these things. He talks about these things in terms of not knowledge, but in terms of love. He loves these things and he moves towards them. And the reason is because he didn't want to die. You know, he didn't want to go the same route as his friends. And there he is, whatever age he is, looking like he's so young. In the last few weeks, months or whatever, I have really tried to do the same thing because I was looking at myself on this YouTube channel. I think the YouTube channel is great, but it's aging me. I'd gone from being a bloke with black hair, long black hair, looking like a hippie, to this old bloody wise weird with a pointy beard and the white hair. And so I've been doing a whole bunch of things, all unrelated. Things like just drinking more water. I'm drinking so much water. I'm trying to sleep properly. I'm not doing YouTube all the time. I'm giving myself space. I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff to try and re-energize myself so that I don't look like some Old Testament prophet, which I knew was what was happening. I'm trying to do something here, right? But I don't know what it is. That's the point. A few weeks ago, I had sort of on video an existential angst, which I didn't plan to do. This one's totally planned. This is the outcome of that. But I was walking around on top of a hill expecting to talk about one thing and then just sort of collapsing and almost like imploring the people in this channel, going like, I don't what's going on. And I knew I had to make a change at that point. I've made that change. I'm here now, right? This is why I'm sat in front of this now. Look at the lighting, look at the background, look at all the stuff I've gathered around me. It's all there. It's all meaning. There's comfort in meaning. There's comfort in being surrounded by what you know, being surrounded by what you love. I have made a change, right? All the way through this channel, I've made a change. I'm engaged with this, and I'm engaged with you lot, okay? And what I want to say in the last part of this video is that I am going to do my best not to just go, I have a formula here, I will keep to it. I'm going to shift it and change it. Sometimes I will get lots of views, and sometimes I will get much less views. That is what has happened all the way through. But I will keep shifting it and changing it. But I'm not going to ever let go of this, right? And even if YouTube goes, even if I was copyright struck out and so I couldn't do it, I'll just go somewhere else and do it. And I will keep doing it. I am going to keep doing this. And what am I doing? Like Ozzy says, I don't know, right? The meaning of this channel is in those lyrics. You know, the title of this video will be, I don't know, I got left behind. It'll be that. I don't know, I got left behind. It'll be in quotes. Those who know that will get it. They will click on that thinking that's interesting. This video will not be designed to get lots of views. It will not be designed to get in there and stoke the algorithm to make sure the money's still coming in. And maybe one day the money will stop coming in. You know, this bloke said to me, and this really is what motivated me. I was watching a video on YouTube. I was quite happy listening to it. And then he was like putting comments up. And then he says, you think you can make money just sat in your car, just talking? That's not going to happen anymore. There's new rules coming in. You're going to be wiped out. You're doomed. You're doomed. Black Chaos. I'm the demon from the Black Chaos. You don't know who I am, but I'm here. Now, that person isn't the demon from Black Chaos, just a person. That's what it seems like to me. And I went, yeah, but I've looked at these rules. I know about these rules. They're going to get rid of AI, aren't they? And there's one thing that my channel isn't. It's not a product of AI. All right? But I panicked. I felt a twinge of diarrhea come in. My stomach tightened. I could no longer concentrate on what I was watching. I had to switch it off. I read his comment over and over again. I went out, got the rules again. I got 4 websites. I read the rules 4 times. This is what people can do to you. I read it 4 times. I went over and over again. And I thought, hang on, I know I am right. I'm right. This is to stop AI. This is to stop AI. It says that it will measure it, and it will try and measure that there's a real person. A real person, right? That's it. That is what it is. You know, someone who stutters gets it all wrong. A real voice, real ideas, and there is a repetition of content. All right? And I thought, you're going to be all right. And I calmed down. So, I'm going to try and do my best to keep changing, to keep pushing against it, to keep doing other things. I'm not going to be bothered about making a video like this that nobody watches. I don't care about that. I don't care if when I come in and see, when a video comes like this is one of the important ones. And I go and look at these stats and it says, this video is the 9th most successful video of the last 10 videos you've viewed, man. I go, oh, here we go. And look at the views. The views are pathetic. I could literally put a video out and do 10,000 views in 2 hours. But sometimes videos like this, I look at it's like 450 views. And I'm like, oh, God. I hope YouTube doesn't notice that. Think about what I'm saying here. What do I do? Right? The answer is, even with all that, even with the demon saying I'm going to lose my channel and the views are going to go off and I don't make any money out of it and all that type of stuff, even with all that, I have to come on and do a video like this. I've been motivated not to come back here and go, right, let's do something, let's do the so-and-so, 10 bands I hate that only have one song I like. There's a big viewer for them. 10 guitarists that should never have picked up the guitar. There's another one. I can do this all day long. Right? the most overrated singers in heavy metal. Right? You just adjust it. You can just adjust what you've done already with just a slip of the words, right? Push the genres that are liked by more people than just the people who don't like jazz, rock and fusion. Poke that monster. You know, get the Warning fans involved. They'll come in. They don't know anything. Right? Let's stoke them up for a bit. Let's jump on this. Let's jump on that. I have to do this. I don't mind it. I'm not. You probably guessed I'm not all honourable. I don't believe artists are honourable. I think we're scoundrels. We're scoundrels. Like we're like that. We're like Zarathustra. In Nietzsche's Thus Spake Zarathustra, he comes out of the mountain and he looks like a bloody homeless type of person, wild hair, eyes going all over the place, and he starts talking to you like John the Baptist or like John Lydon or other, mystics that are called John McLaughlin. They come out looking all weird and spiritual, and they stand in front of you and they say things you don't understand. Like Ozzy Osbourne. What's Ozzy Osbourne's real name? Can't remember. If that's John, then that's weird. But I can't remember what his real name is. What's Ozzy's real name? I'll tell you something. I don't know. That is what this video is about. It's going to be called I Don't Know. Right? I don't know. Like Ozzy, I don't know, but I'm here. And it means something to be here. Right? And we're not dead yet. Okay? The world's changed. The idea that youth are the only people in the world that have got anything to say, that was a period that we lived through. We were that, and we were told that because we're young, we've got something to say. But now the young are trying to say something, and the whole culture's set up to listen to them. And what do they say? WAP, that's what they say. We're the generation. We're the generation. We might go down, it might return to what it was before, and everyone will forget about this sort of rebellious, stick it to the man, I don't know. The wild old loner on the gates of hell. They won't know what that means anymore. Jack Nicholson and bloody Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper on that motorbike. I picked Jack Nicholson. He was a straight guy, but he loves it, and he puts that crash helmet on. He looks like an idiot. It doesn't matter. You can look like an idiot. You can look cool like Dennis Hopper, or you can look like an idiot. The wide-eyed loner riding towards the gates of hell. Like a bat out of hell, I'll be gone when the morning comes. They're always gone when the morning comes. Jimi Hendrix was always going when the morning comes. King of the road. The Obvital. The Obvital. That's what we are. Obvitals. We are the Obvital. That's what I'm going to be on this channel, and I don't care. I don't know, and I don't care. That's what my mum used to say when we were moaning at her. She was the authority in the 1970s. Right? Mum, my brother's done this, and I was going, yeah, he didn't do that. And we'd come into her with all these moral conundrums, and we were trying to understand life, and we wanted the sort of wise person that was there, a little bit like me, the mother YouTuber on here, imparting all this stuff to my similar age friends out there, trying to get some community, and we go to my mum, and I go, Mum, and she goes, shut up. I don't know, and I don't care. Now say you don't know. That's what my mum used to say. Say you don't know. What? Say you don't know. I don't know. Right? That is where I'm going to try and keep getting myself to. I don't know, and I don't care. Right? I haven't got the answers. We haven't got the answers. I am going to bring that in on this channel. I am no longer going to be the big authority. I'm not going to be the Rick Beato who knows something or everything, or the Adam Neely that knows everything. or the Pete Pardo with his vast amount of knowledge of every single band, even bands you've never heard of, and he's got the bloody T-shirt to represent every single idea that he puts forth, right? Those guys are all great, and I love them, but I'm not that. I'm this. And you can say this is a dog's dinner. You could say I don't make a living out of it. You could say I'm doomed and this is going to go down the pan. You can pick on every single detail I get wrong. You could say I shouldn't be here. You can say I'm a bucktooth cunt, as somebody said recently on one of the videos. You wouldn't have seen all that. You know, you tell me to get a haircut. You can go on about dandruff. You can say I look like this person. You can do all that, right? And I will be hurt by it because I am not one of these thick-skinned YouTubers types that doesn't give a toss. I'm a creative type. I'm sensitive, right? I'm very sensitive, and I have to deal with it, and I'm trying to deal with it. And I've never known anything like it before in my life. And the more successful this becomes, the more I will have to deal with it. That is something I'm going to have to do. And I'm going to do it. And I am trying to show the fortitude to do it. And I am trying to here try and place it in a huge story of my life, of your life, of Ozzy Osbourne's life, of a bunch of metalers' life, that everybody that was in that stadium watching that show's life, that everybody who's bought bloody a Weather Report album, Mavish Nutcher album, anyone that saw the Mavish Nutcher in 1972 and got stoned on acid and had an experience that stayed with them for the rest of their life, whatever it is, whatever's brought us all together, whatever it is, all of us, right? Whatever it is, this is a journey and it's positive, and I have to walk towards the light. We have to walk towards the light, right? We need people like Narada Michael Walden. We need people like that. The people who have lived it and are in it. And the dark people like me need to say, yeah, I know I reside in the darkness. That's who I am. But I want to walk towards the light. That is what I want. I want to not know, and I want to find out, and I don't believe there is anything to find out, but I want to enjoy the journey. This is what I'm going to be doing here. This is a statement of intent, but it's a strange statement of intent. I hope what this has been, for those of you who stuck it to the end, has been an old man talking to a bunch of other old men and trying to put into context of our lives and trying to balance the things and truth and beauty that we've discovered and know about, which is the project that's like being wise, the wise old man, but also within that wisdom being able to say, but on the whole, don't understand any of it. We don't know. I don't know. And to posit as our hero, Ozzy Osbourne, he is the guy. He's the guy. I'm going to finish with an observation about Ozzy. This is a much more specific. I could do a whole video on this and it would be very contentious, but I'll throw this out here. Ozzy is all the things we have said. He's the everyman. He tells the truth without knowing he's telling the truth. He's honest. He's truthful. He is exciting. He's charismatic. And there's a profoundness. But he should be dead. And the reason he's not dead is because he got married to Don Arden's daughter. And she is like the dialectic opposite to Ozzy. And she spent her whole life protecting Ozzy, right? I have story after story about Don Arden and Sharon Osbourne, Sharon Arden, and how she's protected him. You know, talking about the dogs of hell, you know, Don Arden once set his dogs on Sharon Osbourne when she said she was going to manage Ozzy. That is what it's all about. Now in 2000, I met Ozzy Osbourne and Sharon Osbourne. I met them. They didn't really speak to me. They didn't want to speak to me. They were very angsty. The other guys in Black Sabbath, I met like Tony Iommi and Geezer Butler, especially Tony, was lovely. He was like a quiet genius. You knew this was the real dark genius of Black Sabbath. Ozzy represented something else. But I've met them. I met them 25 years ago. Sharon was tiny. I remember thinking how small and tiny she was. And there was a power to her and Ozzy together. But she creates this hard exterior around Ozzy. The Blizzard of Oz album, once that was completed, she, not Ozzy, Con the musicians, Bob Daisley, can't remember who the other guy was. Could have been Tommy Aldridge, but who was the drummer on that album? It wasn't Tommy, was it? It's a great drummer. Is it Ted McKenna? Anyway, the musicians that played on that album, they sued Ozzy. I think they won. They got some money. But they didn't. Not suing Ozzy. They're suing Sharon. Sharon then, quite mercilessly, took those parts off that album, just out of pure spite and vengeance, and erased them and got some other guys in to play it. And then this album was a new album with them playing on it. Of course, nobody wants to know that. Now it's been reissued. It's back to that. Sharon protects Ozzy, right? And I'm sure that my copyright strike, right, it's this dialectic that exists in this that is so profound to me that I have to keep coming back to it. It is not because I don't care about the strike. I actually don't care. It'll be fine. You know, I'll just sit it out to October. It'll be gone. You know, I'm more worried about the points on my license for speeding than that. I respect Sharon Osbourne. I respect what she's done. She's done that out of love, and she's protect Ozzy all the way down the line. And she, you know, there was 6 million people watching that live stream. They'd all spent 30 quid. You work out how much money that is. Forgetting the ticket sales, forgetting the fact that it would have been filmed anyway. So you can say, yeah, but they did have to pay for the live stream, but it's going to be filmed anyway. An event like that will always be filmed. And I think they'll have done a deal with Netflix or somebody for a big movie to come out. We'll all go to the pictures and see that. Now, if there is like £1 billion being made out of that gig, I find it very difficult to believe that's all going to be passed on to a little charity in Birmingham. I mean, what are they going to do with £1 billion? No, the £1 billion is shoring up something. And Sharon's doing it, and I've got to respect her for it. And that is why I got took down. I know why I got took down, because I was shocked. Throughout the day, not all concurrently, but throughout the day, I had 100,000 people watching my live stream. Now, I know I was only adding to it, but I was still adding to it. I was existing at that point because of Ozzy Osbourne. And she wasn't going to have it. I don't know whether I said some jokes on there. I don't know what it was. But I don't know when. I mean, I cracked a joke to some people and said, you know, because I made no money out of it until I cracked a joke and said, you know, and I was winding them up and saying, no one's even giving me any money. And then some people threw some money at me. That's the nature of YouTube. And I then said, stop paying the money. And they did stop, you know. I didn't want to make money on that like that. But maybe they went, this guy's making money out of this. I don't know. You see, I don't know. And I don't care. It's the fact that it meant so much to me, and yet the same mechanism took me down. And I'm trying. That's what this is. This is what this is. It's trying to. Yeah, what it is. It's the dialectic. It's what we always come back to. It's the great dialectic at work. Ozzy's normal, humble guy from Birmingham, just saying what he thinks, being natural, being who he is, and we love him, he loves us, it's all great. But for somebody to survive that has that mindset, normally the world will rip you to bits. So you need your Sharon Osbourne, you need her around, you know, round and about. She loves him she must do. They love each other, the family love each other, and she protects him. And in protecting him, she will take anybody out, even me that loves him so much and loves what he represents. I'm still worthy of being taken out by her. That protection of that fragile voice, the voice that is at the heart of rock and roll and heavy metal, does need to be protected. And so I need to protect it. And so as I get to the last 2 minutes, we get to the real conclusion. I've arrived there. I have now got to the bit that I hadn't thought this morning. I'm going to protect this. I've just decided, if somebody gets personal with me, I'm going to delete the comments. Every time I see something that gets to me, when the demons arise and they start saying stuff like this, I'm not going to argue with it. I'm not that good a person, right? I am not going to be the Ozzy Osbourne and take it and listen and say, I love you all and just have all that. I'm not going to be that. I am going to be the Sharon Osbourne. I'm going to delete it. My idea of being a free speech absolute, it is going, right? You can't do it. All right, this is my channel. When I see a comment I don't like, I am going to delete it. That is the message of this video, okay? If somebody pushes back at me and they get me, you know, and they've got facts, I promise you I won't do that. If they're saying you're wrong about this, I won't do that. I'm not going to be getting rid of the stuff I don't like. That's not what I'm going to do. I am going to get rid of those who are personal to me. Because what I represent here and what I say to you is just like a ghost. It's not a real person. And I realise that. And so if I'm not a real person, the real me, the Sharon Osbourne aspect of me behind this, making these videos, as honest as I can be, and I'm just told you this is the case, right, needs to protect me. I need to protect myself here. That is the outcome of this one. And I will. And I feel suddenly much happier to realise that I am now going to protect myself, and it might be wrong and it might be immoral and somebody might have to point it out. And when you point it out, I'll argue with you, but if you get personal, the comment will be deleted. That is the end of the video, 1 hour, 7 seconds. Thank you for watching it. I got there in the end. I needed this one more than you did, but I hope you enjoyed the journey. I am now going to do another video which will be about music, so don't worry, another one will come along. I do one every single day. It doesn't matter if there's a couple of there here you don't like, tough.